This is Genealogy Chat, and it is Thursday, October 27th. We are coming to you live on Facebook, and we are also coming to you live from the Willinar Genealogy Center, which is a service of the Eckhart Public Library. Today we have a very exciting show for you. We have two wonderful guests. This is our Halloween show, so we're all decked up in our Halloween earrings and our Halloween scarves, skulls, and all that. So we got a big show for you, so let's get started. Our show today is brought to us by two lovely friends. The first is on the left, Black Kitty, and it's National Black Kitty Day. And her name is Wanda Long, and her favorite show is Murder, She Wrote. Smart, good taste, yes. She loves salmon. She is 12 weeks old, and she was discovered outside on a blustery fall night. But she chose her family, and the three of them, four of them, are all very happy. And then the gorgeous puppy on the right, her name is Gracie A. Mann, and she she selected her family in 2018, and she was a puppy. She has one blue eye and one brown eye, and what she does to entertain her humans is to remove their socks while the socks are on their feet.
Yep, while they're still on my feet.
And then I think she takes them and removes them and hides them.
Yeah, pretty much.
And she loves to lie with her human, as her human likes to watch movies or read. And Gracie is just a wonderful comfort to her family, and they're so happy to have her. And I want to show more pictures of our little friends. This one is Gracie Long, Wanda Long, and her human is Jamie Long, and she's one of our library employees. And the next picture is...
That was the last picture.
That was the last one? Not one of Miss Gracie?
She's very... it's like she knows I'm going to take her picture, so then she runs off. So I could only get two.
That's okay. That's all right. We'll see her later in the show during our commercial break. Yes. So our first exciting speaker is Darcy Armstrong, who's going to tell us about tombstones, symbolism, all sorts of fun stuff. So Darcy, take it away and lay it on us.
Thank you, Jane. So that started with Darcy's Grim Tales, and this is probably the grimmest picture in this presentation, but I wanted to talk briefly about the history of cemeteries and burial in Western Europe primarily and the United States. So this is a picture of the catacombs in Paris. So a long time ago, there would often just be large, essentially mass graves or certain plots where cities would bury their dead, and then after enough time had passed and there was nothing left but bones, would evict them from their resting place, and the bones would be stacked like this example in the catacombs under Paris. Okay.
Oh, goodness.
Later, you find a lot of churches or municipalities would have burial grounds, either maintained by the churches or maintained by the municipalities. This is I believe, the Granary Burial Ground in Boston. I believe that's a picture of that. So what you have there a lot of times is not what you see now in cemeteries from that time period, where now things are kind of laid out more neatly. Well, in this case, they would just kind of bury people wherever, and when it got full, they would kind of go on top So sometimes they'd be 3 and 4 deep. And then when I toured that cemetery, where like Paul Revere is and Samuel Adams, they said there are times because of soil erosion, they have found like scraps of clothing or sometimes bones. Yeah, but then later on in the United States, so we're ready to go on, in the second half of the 19th century, cemeteries were planned basically as public parks where people could take a nice afternoon stroll. There would be programming going on or events. Picnics were really popular. And you'll see this a lot in some of the larger cemeteries that date back to that middle of the second half of the 19th century. So Lindenwood in Fort Wayne is a good regional example of that.
That's
So
cool.
we'll go forward. So there's several things. This is why I'm interested in graveyards. There's so much you can learn if you're doing genealogy or local history research from somebody's tombstone. You can learn, of course, their dates, when they lived. You can learn family relationships. So a lot of times families will be buried together in a plot. And that's really important too, because if you're doing research on your ancestors, a lot of times you're looking at census records. Well, perhaps your ancestors had children that were born and sadly died in between censuses, so they wouldn't be listed there, but you might find a grave for a child who would have died in between censuses. This is an interesting example of a tombstone that actually lists how the person died, which was they were kicked by a horse. That's not super common, but you do sometimes see that. So we'll go forward. And a lot of times you will see symbols on the older tombstones that can reveal something about the person's affiliations or membership in certain clubs or fraternal organizations. It will reveal something about their religion or their spiritual life. And those are typically the most common ones you see. Military service is another. The veil over the top of the stone is a very common one that you'll see, that they've crossed over the veil between the living and the dead. That's a pretty common one. This is an example of someone's military service. This is a Civil War veteran buried in DeKalb County, and he was fought with the 44th Indiana Infantry, Company K, and it's right there on his tombstone. So if you're doing research on one of your ancestors and you see something like that, any research you can do about that particular military unit can give you a fuller picture of what that person's life was like.
That's amazing.
Yeah. A lot of times you'll see a finger pointing up, and that's a finger pointing up to heaven. It's a pretty common one from that time period. A weeping willow tree signifies grief. Typically, you'll see a lot of flowers or trees as well. We'll keep going. And this is a child's tombstone, so you'll see a lot of times lambs, which would symbolize like innocent or the baby Jesus. You'll find those on a lot of children's tombstones. And the lily, also a symbol of peace. Okay. An open book you'll see a lot, so it could signify that this person, all of their deeds throughout their life that was written in the book of their life, and now their chapter is closed. It would make sense to have a closed book, I guess, on that, but like at the last page, but no, it would be an open book, you'll see. There's another example of the urn on top with the veil over it. You can also learn, this was significantly larger than some of the other tombstones, kind of how that person might have been positioned economically. Were they a very important figure in their community? And this is an example of those affiliations and like club or fraternal organization memberships. A lot of times you'll see the symbol for Masons or the Order of the Eastern Star. So we see that Robert C. Kuhlman was a Freemason, and his wife was in the women's affiliated organization, which is the Order of the Eastern Star. And the tree stump is the Order of the Woodsmen, another fraternal organization. So you might see a lot of tree stumps. Okay. And this is, there's a lot of information about cemetery symbolism. If you see something you don't recognize or you just see something that looks really cool. I have yet to see a winged skull like it is on that. But a lot of times you'll see hands clasped, and that's a symbol of them meeting their maker. They're joining with eternity. Primarily, those symbols are religious or spiritual in nature. But yeah, it's very interesting. There's a couple great websites. Find a Grave, of course, if you're looking for information about where someone is buried. And that's maintained by volunteers, that go out and take pictures and record. But there's another site called My Grave Addiction, which sounds kind of severe, but that's where, you find a lot of research on cemetery symbolism. So, yeah.
That's very interesting, Darcy.
Yeah.
Thank you. We learned a lot.
Yeah, so, and aside from just being peaceful places, knowing that some of them were actually planned as public parks makes me feel better about just going in and hanging out and, of course, being respectful and all of that. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Darcy.
You're welcome.
We really
Thank you.
appreciate this.
You're welcome. Thank
We
you
really
for having
do.
me.
Thank you.
That was really
And
interesting.
happy Halloween,
Oh, yes.
Darcy.
Happy Halloween to you.
Where's Darcy? She just disappeared.
Well, it is Halloween. I mean,
That's true.
hopefully we'll see her again.
I hope so. Oh, bye, Darcy.
Wherever you are.
Wherever you are. Okay, well, let's go for a commercial break. I think I'm so stressed out and in shock. It's going to take me a while to recover from this. So let's calm down a little bit with a commercial break.
More animal pictures.
More animal, yes.
Or I guess to review the previous animal pictures.
Right, and show our sponsors again. Yes, on the left is Wanda Long, and on the right is Gracie A. Mann. Oh, and on the left is Wanda Long playing with, is that a C? No, that's not C-3PO, it's,
I don't know my Star Wars very well. R2-D2?
R2-D2, that's right. And then on the right is Miss Gracie A. Mann. What was she doing in this picture?
Well,
Rebecca?
to get her to pose like that, actually, I had my mom hold a treat up in the air, and then I was like down on the floor. So we were distracting her as I took the pic because, like I said, she knows. I don't know how she knows, but she'll get out of that picture. She'll move her head, make it all blurry. I have a reel of photos of her on my phone just trying to get that one picture.
Aww.
That's why Wanda poses so much better.
And there's Wanda with her little teeth. She's smiling at us. That's cute. Well, I feel much better now. I'm more calm and relaxed over that horrible thing where Darcy just disappeared on us.
Well, sadly, I'm going to try and scare you. So,
Uh-oh.
yeah, because I have ghostly stories. So,
I don't know if I can take it, but I'll
we'll
try.
do our best.
So this is Rebecca Mann, who is the human of Gracie Mann.
Yes. Crazy little girl, I swear.
That's right. And Rebecca has been on our show before talking about Fort Riley and all the ghosts and interesting stories. So because it's Halloween, Rebecca has returned, and you're going to tell us tales about Fort Riley, Kansas, all the different ghost stories, and we're going to be creeped out, but I think we can take it. So suck it to us.
Well, I guess in terms of little history, my dad was in the military for 20 years, and so we actually lived at Fort Riley for 4 years. It was one of our longest duty stations, as we like to say. Great 4 years, and during that time period, there was an awesome ghost tour. Like, they got really into it. They dress up as the ghosts, and then they have a tour guide leading you through, and so you'll see little ghosts, supposed ghosts, throughout the tour. And a couple of them stuck with me. But first, before we get into the ghost stories, I have a little history about Fort Riley, very brief. not too highly detailed. Before Fort Riley was Fort Riley, it was known as Camp Center because it was believed to be that spot was as center in the United States as you could get. So they called it Camp Center, and then eventually they named it after a Major General Bennett Riley. And after the fort was named after Riley, it went through a lot. In 1855, they had the cholera epidemic, unforeseen enemy that they had to deal with. And then not long after cholera, in 1918, 1919, they had the Spanish flu epidemic. So there's two big major epidemics right there. And then during all these epidemics, they're facing different wars like World War I, World War II. So a lot of soldiers and family members of those soldiers passed away. So stories of possible hauntings are not too shocking, especially since Fort Riley is kind of known as one of the most haunted bases in the United States, as well as one of the oldest. So some ghost stories. If you were to go on a tour at Fort Riley, you might stop at the Cavalry Parade Field. And that one's kind of, if you stop on that field, it's highly believed that you'll suddenly start to feel a vibration and a distant thunder. And if you start hearing that, feeling that, you might want to get out of the way. There might be a ghostly stampede headed your way of this cavalry group that has lingered there. They go across the field to the end of it. One man stops, gets off his horse, and then the rest of the apparitions disappear.
Ooh.
So, supposedly they have been seen. The ghost riders. And then there's a lot of the housing on post was known to be haunted, some of the older housing in the older area. So there's quarters 2, and this story, a little sad. This family, this officer, he had some friends over, some other fellow officers, and they were relaxing. Well, suddenly something made them think an attack was imminent on post. We have to hide. So they went to a secret hideaway in quarters 2, and sadly, when they shut the door, they sealed their own fate. It locked for some reason, oddly. Something went wrong, and they sealed themselves in there, and they could not get back out. They tried everything they could do, but eventually everyone who was hidden away passed away. And it is said to this day that you can hear a woman searching for a couple of her family members who didn't make it into that secret room. She's still searching the house for them, so you'll hear her walking up and down the stairs constantly. So some of the residents have been a little spooked by that.
I would be, yes.
Yeah. And then one of the stories that we got to hear on the tour that really stuck to me was the Lingering Bride. Hers it took place kind of in July of 1855, when cholera hit, it was killing hundreds of people on that base. And there was a young bride who was staying at home. Her fiance and her stepfather were away, kind of dealing with helping those who were ill or anything they could do to help the base. And she waited, and she was getting a little impatient. Well, while she waited, she got cholera. She got really sick, and she passed away. So when her fiance returned, he was devastated. He decided he would put her in her wedding gown and bury her outside. So he just took her outside, buried her. And then years later, the fort was interested in adding in a railway. So they started digging to put down the tracks and everything. And while they were digging, they found her body.
Ooh.
And so they're like, oh, gosh. So they decided to rebury her. And somehow in that process, there was a huge miscommunication, and they forgot where they buried her. They have no idea where she is. So they decided right then and there, okay, we'll stop with the railroad. We won't build it any further. And there have been reports of a woman in a wedding dress wandering around looking for either her body or the man she really wanted to marry.
Yeah.
It was a sad end to her story, but she's still there, supposedly. And then there's quarters 124, another living resident. In the late 1800s, there was a young woman who would take care of this family. She loved them and spent a lot of time with them. And sadly, cholera, that epidemic, was killing hundreds on this post. And it sadly killed that family one by one. And she had to take them out of the house individually down the stairs. And eventually when everybody was gone, she couldn't take it anymore. She was beyond struck with grief. So she decided to throw herself into the well next to home. She just threw herself in and she drowned and she passed away.
Oh.
To this day, there are reports that you can hear someone coming down the stairs dragging a body.
Oh.
Because she's still taking them outside to bury them. So she's still there. That one, highly creepy.
Yeah. That's scary. Do you have one that's a little happier, not quite as scary?
Sadly, I don't know. No, I can't say yes to that. That one was pretty cool though when we learned that story, because they actually had a woman out there dressed in black and everything. It was really cool. Because my last one is Building 500, and also known as Summerall Hall. And today it serves as Fort Riley's post headquarters. Beautiful building. But its history is a little dark. Before it was headquarters, from 1890 to the end of World War II, it was used as a hospital/morgue. Yeah, so it went through a lot, all the diseases, the flus, so a lot of people died in that hospital, and those on duty, the soldiers who are watching it, they've reported groaning noises, crying noises, and the sound of a gurney going across the halls. So there are sightings and all kinds of noises in that building, apparently. So it's an intriguing. Fort Riley has so much history. It's amazing. And there are books for all these ghost stories. And I have 2 on the table, actually. And I recently learned there's actually 4 of them in existence. So I'm looking to try and complete the collection, in a sense. And the stories in these books, so far, as I've read them, none of them are the same or repeats. So there are so many ghost stories from this post. And it's highly intriguing. It's history and also spooky, because I love spooky season. So I love reading them. That's mostly what I have.
Very scary stories. I'm even more creeped out than I was with the tombstones. My heart is pounding. Can we look at this? Pictures of our sponsors again, please?
Really
That'll
cute
calm
pictures.
us down after all that fright. Whew, okay.
Wanda's too cute.
Yes. The puppy on the right is Gracie, a man, and her human is a wonderful Rebecca, a man who is sitting next to me, and the adorable black kitten on the left is Wanda Long, and her human is Jamie Long, who is a wonderful librarian on our staff. Do we have? Oh, good. This will help me calm down a little bit. On the left is Wanda again, playing with her little toy, and on the right is Miss Gracie. Okay, we're feeling better, aren't we? Yes.
And then, of course, the silly picture of Wanda. Which
Yes.
I love and adore.
Yes, where she's playing with her salmon.
I think so.
Her salmon, and she's smiling at us. Okay. Do we feel better when we're not as scared as we were?
I'm good. I love ghost stories, so I would love to hear more. If you in the audience happen to have a personal story, your own personal haunting that you went through, or if you know a fun, interesting story, maybe something about Auburn that I don't know, please drop a comment. I'd love to hear it.
But nothing too scary.
Maybe. I do like scary.
Well, that's the show for today. I want to thank our sponsors, Wanda Long and Gracie A. Mann. And I want to thank you all for watching the show. And I want to thank our wonderful, excellent man behind the camera, Andrew Lavargetta. Say hello to the folks, Andrew. Oh my gosh. that was scary. I think scarier than anything else that we've seen. Oh my gosh.
Toss it.
Toss it. So I want to thank Rebecca and Darcy there is Andrew, part of Andrew,
Well,
a man
I think
behind
it's
the
just
camera.
his head,
He disappeared. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, don't scare me.
I feel like I shouldn't be smiling, but
I
I
know.
do that when I'm scared.
Yeah, don't
It's weird.
Don't scare us like that, Andrew, please. So we want to thank you for watching the show, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
you.
Thank you.